wonder how long it will take before someone figures out that I'm not very good at this. You know, I really don't deserve my success. I'm the perfect example of the word lucky. I don't have enough experience. I should get more degrees from school. Other tutors are better than I am. Have you ever caught yourself thinking this way? Now, these types of thoughts, they're common in those that experience what's called imposter syndrome. And in today's video, we're going to unpack what imposter syndrome means. Now, you're going to find out if you have imposter syndrome, what are the signs and effects, and how long has imposter syndrome been an issue? And what are the causes of it? Next, you're going to discover the 5 basic types of imposter syndrome, because understanding your types is going to help you to understand the solution. And after that, you're going to learn just how challenging imposter syndrome can be to defeat. You'll learn about the role of your childhood beliefs and basic personality. And if you stick with me till the end, I'm going to be giving you a 21-day action plan. You'll have a daily plan for 3 full weeks. And using the ideas presented here, you'll build momentum that can carry you toward a new future. Hey there, you guys. My name's Joanne Kaminski, and I'm an online reading tutor and a business coach. And what I have just found over the years when I got started was, honestly, I had no idea if I was able to put all the information that I had learned about teaching reading to teachers into practice. And I experienced this imposter syndrome. I remember thinking, I have all of the knowledge, but am I able to actually put it in practice into a way that's really going to have a really amazing effect with my students? I honestly had no idea. And I thought, the only way to really know if I'll be able to do it is to get started. And I began tutoring with my students. I ran into a couple of hiccups here and there. And I had these thoughts that just went through my head that, I wasn't good enough, that, maybe I needed to learn more. But honestly, that was not the case at all. In fact, all I needed to do was just keep going. You learn as you go. You find out what are the things that my students are struggling with. You research it. You begin searching for answers and all of those great things. And this is kind of what I've learned over time, is that how you tutor online is going to be something that progresses naturally for you once you kind of experience some of these hiccups and get going. Now, imposter syndrome consists of pervasive and consistent thoughts of inadequacy. Even when you've proven yourself to be entirely capable, it's like you can't convince yourself of how great you are, even when you really are. While everyone suffers from self-doubt on occasion, someone with imposter syndrome feels this way all of the time. It doesn't matter how much you accomplish. You might win an Oscar for Best Leading Actor, but you'll still be convinced that you can't act. There are many people who feel this way, and it's not limited to any particular demographic. Men, women, children, doctors, lawyers, teachers, and tutors can all suffer from imposter syndrome. So do you ever feel like a phony? Do you find it hard to believe that people trust you? Do you regularly feel self-doubt, regardless of how much success you achieve? If so, then you are in the right place. By learning to manage your imposter syndrome, you can begin to see your full value and reach your ultimate potential. Your confidence is going to soar when you gain the necessary skills to deal with your self-doubt effectively. When imposter syndrome is allowed to exist unchecked, it can severely limit your overall satisfaction in life. It can also hamper your relationships and career. So, what is it? The term imposter syndrome has been around for nearly 50 years. And back then, it was considered to be a feeling that the sufferer lacked the necessary confidence to perform their job adequately, even when the person had shown repeatedly that they did indeed have the skills. Now, there are 3 primary qualities that those with imposter syndrome share. 1, the feeling of being a phony. If you have imposter syndrome, you believe that you don't know what you actually do know. You think you're just faking it, and that others are crazy for assuming that you know what you're doing. 2, fear of being discovered as a fraud. Everyone with imposter syndrome worries of that dreadful day coming, the day everyone finally figures out they're a fraud. It's believed that the underlying issue is one of standards. Those with imposter syndrome set standards that are far too rigorous. Setting more reasonable standards can help tremendously. The anxiety that arises from worrying about being uncovered as a fraud can be considerable. An ability to accept success as genuine. It's common to assign success to external factors such as luck, right place, right time, or having the right connections. Having imposter syndrome makes it challenging to accept the idea that one's skills and expertise are the reasons for success. It's also common to overestimate the abilities of others. If something is easy to accomplish for someone with imposter syndrome, their assumption is that it's easy for everyone, even when it's not. They fail to recognize that their knowledge and skills make it easy. How many of these qualities do you possess? Imposter syndrome has been around since the beginning of civilized man, but was only given a name 50 years ago. And this is nothing new. You're not alone. Many of the most successful people have struggled with feeling like a phony. Sometimes I feel like an imposter, and I have to remind myself, you're able to do this. I look at the books on the shelf that have my name on them to remind myself I've done it before, and likely I can do it again. This is from Laura Amy Schlitz. Now, there are a variety of opinions on the causes of imposter syndrome. There's a general agreement that both nature and nurture factors are responsible. If you like to blame your parents, you might find part of the explanation to your liking. Those that feel like an imposter tend to score high on the traits of neuroticism. They are more emotionally reactive than most people. They also score low on conscientiousness. They are less disciplined and less organized than the average person. Those with imposter syndrome often have parents that set unreasonably high standards and focus more on failure than success. These are the kind of parents that want to know why you got to be in math, but just ignore the 5 A's on the rest of your report card. Your basic personality and upbringing can combine to create a general feeling of inadequacy. Now let's take a look at the basic types of imposter syndrome. Those with imposter syndrome manifest their predicament in different ways. While there are no hard and fast rules, it's generally accepted that there are 5 basic types of imposters. See which one most applies to you. What type of imposter are you? Number 1, the expert. Now, this type of imposter believes they're lacking in the knowledge necessary to be successful. They spend a lot of time looking for new things to learn. They always seem to need to learn just one more thing, and they'll have the confidence that they need to apply themselves. Unfortunately, that day never comes. There's always something else they believe they need to learn. Gaining more knowledge or skills can be a form of procrastination. Number 2 is the soloist. If you're a soloist, you avoid asking for help. You feel that you must do everything on your own. And there are 2 reasons for this. You believe that you'll be exposed as a fraud if you ask for help, so you try to do it alone. The other reason is you believe that a true expert never needs help. But this couldn't be further from the truth. While you think that receiving help means you've achieved nothing, in reality, experts get help all of the time. And number 3 is the genius. If you're this type of imposter, you believe that anything that requires hard work is something that you don't do well. After all, an expert should be able to handle anything quickly and easily. The expert feels inadequate and a touch of shame if he can't complete a task easily. And then 4, we have the perfectionist. The perfectionist is never happy. She sets impossibly high standards and confirms her lack of expertise by failing to attain them. If she actually does attain her high standards, she believes that she should have done more. It's a no-win situation. And number 5, we have the superhero. The superhero believes that he's incompetent when he compares himself to his colleagues. He attempts to prove his worth by outdoing everyone. He's the guy that works weekends when it isn't necessary. He comes in early and stays late. He skips breaks. Imposter syndrome can manifest itself in more than one way. While the root of the issue is always the same, how this is interpreted by each imposter can vary. So which type of imposter are you? Now let's take a look at a three-prong attack to imposter syndrome. So imposter syndrome doesn't go away quietly into the night. A single approach is likely to come up short. It's important to deal with the beliefs that you have developed in childhood, your basic nature, and the current manifestations of those two items. Dealing with all three will provide the best chance for success. Now let's take a look at the issue of nature. So neuroticism is one of the primary components of imposter syndrome. Those that are neurotic have an innate tendency to worry, have negative expectations of the future, focus on personal shortcomings and weaknesses, and struggle to enjoy life in general. Addressing these neurotic tendencies can be very helpful with imposter syndrome and overall happiness. So try these strategies. 1, be mindful. There are 2 components to mindfulness. Keeping your mind in the present moment is the first part of mindfulness. Focus your thoughts on whatever you're doing in the moment or on some aspect of your immediate environment. Mopping the floor and thinking about your bills isn't being mindful. The second aspect of mindfulness is noticing your emotions and thoughts without judging them. This takes away the emotional charge. So when you're feeling anxious, try to relax and notice how you experience the anxiety in your body. How does it feel? Imagine you're a scientist studying your anxiousness. How would you describe it? Just notice it and continue paying attention to it until it disappears. The second strategy is to contemplate death. Now, you might question the idea of thinking about death, but it's actually quite liberating. So imagine you knew that you would die tomorrow. Would you still worry about the same things you worry about now? You might normally worry about, your financial situation, what others think about you, your level of attractiveness, your health, not being invited to a party, the weather this weekend. Would you still worry about these things if you knew that tomorrow was your last day on earth? Of course not. In fact, you'd probably go outside and enjoy the rain rather than hide inside your home. 99% of your worries would be instantly removed. There's really very little difference from knowing that you're going to die tomorrow and knowing that you're going to die someday. It's all going to end at the same point. So why worry? The third thing you can do is engage in positive self-talk. You can't experience neuroticism if you're not saying negative, doom and gloom things to yourself. Investigate how you speak to yourself and develop a habit of saying positive, encouraging things to yourself. This may take a lot of work, but the results are worth the effort. The fourth thing you can do is focus on solutions. Those that worry a lot focus on the challenges and the negative outcomes. Avoid thinking that way. When you're faced with something that concerns you, look for a solution and implement it. If there's no solution to be found, what's the value of worrying about it? The fifth thing you can do is just let go of trying to be perfect. If you feel the need to be perfect, the world is a challenging and scary place. When you need to be perfect, there's only one way that things can go correctly and an infinite number of ways that things can go wrong. Now, the best baseball players in the world, they make $30 million per year, and they fail to hit the ball even 40% of the time. And guess what? You don't need to be perfect either. The last thing you can do is get professional help. If these strategies aren't sufficient to kind of soothe your anxiety, consider talking to a professional. You wouldn't try to replace your transmission or operate on your appendix yourself, so there's no reason that you have to tackle this issue on your own either. Get help from a professional. Now, this is why I created the Jumpstart Your Online Tutoring Business Masterclass. It teaches you everything that you need to know to start and grow your tutoring business with the help of other tutors that have successfully done it as well. And you get the support of a team so that when you're feeling stuck, you have a team of people surrounding you that can help you. Now, one of the 5 major personality traits is neuroticism, and we all fail somewhere on the neuroticism scale. But those with imposter syndrome tend to reside at the higher end of the scale. So while it's tough to alter your basic nature, there are plenty of enhancements that you can make to your outlook on life and how you handle stress, worry, and anxiety. The issue of nurture. So let's face it, no one's parents studied parenting for 4 years in college, right? I mean, there are no parents that are experts until it's too late. It's only after your kids have grown that you have enough experience to parent correctly. A few lucky parents get it right, but it's 95% luck. Most parents leave something to be desired for in their performance. And this includes your parents. So how do you undo the damage of your childhood and feel like less of an imposter? Well, first, you examine the harmful beliefs that you developed in childhood. What did you learn from your parents that is harming you today? List your harmful beliefs. A few common examples include, I have to be perfect. Anything less than perfection is failing. Mistakes and failures are bad. I'm not enough. I'm not worthy. I'm powerless. I'm not capable. I'm not important. Number 2, question the belief. The belief wasn't implanted in you. You assigned a meaning to your parents' words and reactions to your behavior. So maybe you drew an incorrect conclusion. Ask yourself these questions. What happened that led me to believe this? Try to pinpoint one or more events from your childhood. Now, is this the only reasonable interpretation? Were my parents trying to be helpful, but took a wrong approach? Was it the best, most helpful interpretation from the experience that led to this belief? Complete this process for all of your negative beliefs that contribute to your imposter syndrome, and try to tackle a belief or two each day. It could take a lot of time to get through them all, so just get started today. Now let's take a look at an example. Suppose a negative belief you hold is perfection is the only acceptable result. Looking through your memories, you remember 2 times where you received this message loud and clear. There was a time that maybe you played a little league baseball game and had a nearly perfect game. You played error-free baseball on the field. You hit 2 home runs and struck out once. And then after the game, your dad ignored all your amazing plays and asked you, why did you strike out in the last inning? Another time, you decided to help your mother by cleaning the living room. You did an amazing job, especially considering that you were only 9 years old. However, when your mom inspected your work, she pointed out that you failed to dust the TV. She never commented on the high quality of the rest of your work. What are some other interpretations of these incidents? Let's come up with a few. So my parents were jerks that didn't know anything about how to raise a child. My parents wanted me to learn from my mistakes, so they focused on those. And my parents didn't want me to become a complacent person or cocky. My parents were just having a bad day. You would continue coming up with alternatives until you had exhausted all the possibilities that seem reasonable to you. Next, pick out the most helpful interpretation that seems believable to you. Now relive those experiences, but imagine your parents' response supporting your new belief. You could even change the words that your parents say in your mind. Keep in mind that it's not just parents that influenced your beliefs. It could be a sibling, other relative, neighbor, or teacher. So look for all of the sources of beliefs you have that make you feel like an imposter today. Dealing with the present. So your past beliefs and basic personality have led to where you are right now. Dealing with these things allows for the possibility of making changes now. Imposter syndrome won't go away easily. Now, once the past and your natural tendencies have been addressed, it's time to address the present with these strategies. 1, acknowledge the challenge of imposter syndrome in your life. This isn't an easy challenge to overcome, so it's important to recognize that it's causing issues in your life. So list all the ways that imposter syndrome is making you miserable. List all the ways this issue is holding you back and limiting your life. List all the ways that your life would be enhanced if you could work through it. How much happiness is it costing you? How much money is it costing you by limiting your employment opportunities? Draw attention to your successes. Recognize your role in your success. You weren't successful just because you were lucky or knew the right people. Recognize your contribution to all of the great things that you've done. You might need to enlist the help of friends and family for this. Ask them to list your positive traits. And 3, learn to like criticism. Most criticism can be helpful if you have the proper perspective. Each time someone offers a suggestion, you might be getting a great piece of advice. Not all criticism is given with positive intentions, but that's just life. Some people are just negative like that. 4, redefine failure. Failure is only a temporary condition. It's a stepping stone to achieving your goal. Some things require a few tries. Sometimes you'll take the wrong approach and need to make a few changes. Imagine that you made chocolate chip cookies and discovered that you didn't add enough chocolate chips. Would you break down and wallow over what a wretched chef you are? No, you just alter your recipe and add a few more chips next time. Failure is that simple. 5, learn to let go of the need for external validation. And this is a tough one, but a fully actualized adult can work for nothing other than their own validation. You're not a child anymore. You shouldn't need someone to be in awe of every little impressive thing that you do. And 6, learn to override your feelings. Uncomfortable feelings stop us from all sorts of things, like sticking with a diet, going to the gym, asking someone for a date, or applying for a job. The discomfort caused by imposter syndrome isn't a literal set of shackles that immobilize you. You can override those uncomfortable feelings and go on to do what you intended to do. It just takes a little determination. And dealing with your past and your tendencies is a huge step in the right direction. However, there is the present set of challenges to clear up as well. When you've approached the world a certain way for an extended period of time, you develop habits. Habits are not going to vanish just by resolving childhood issues. Resolving those issues makes change possible. Now, I've listed out some of the solutions rather quickly, but to help you overcome your imposter syndrome, I have created a free download. These are actions that you can take for the next 21 days to help you overcome this feeling so that you can be the best version of yourself. All you need to do is click the link in the description. Give me your email address so that I know where to send the 21-day action plan, and you will be set to conquer your fears. Now, imposter syndrome can negatively affect every area of your life if you let it. So make a commitment to yourself today to follow through on these strategies so that you can let go of these untrue beliefs that limit you and cause you grief. I promise you, you will be glad that you did. Now, do you want to learn 10 habits that can help you grow your online tutoring business? Then check out this series that will unpack each one. You'll learn how to organize your time better, how to keep more money in your business, and how to stay motivated when you want to give up. All you need to do is click the video playlist on the right-hand side.